This is about Claude, a daily digest of news and discourse about the AI I keep coming back to. Whether you're a budding power user or merely Claude curious, we aim to keep you informed and help you make sense of where Claude is headed. Today we're talking about ads, or more precisely, we're talking about the week two companies made opposite bets on the same question. What is a free AI user worth? On Sunday, OpenAI started showing ads in ChatGPT. On Tuesday, Anthropic responded by giving free Claude users a stack of features that used to sit behind a paywall. Same week, same audience, completely different answers. And in between, there's a Super Bowl commercial, a billionaire calling his rival elitist, and a three-word tagline that might be the most pointed thing Anthropic has ever said: no ads in sight. That's where we're starting today. Let's take the OpenAI move seriously, because the logic behind it isn't foolish. On February 9th, OpenAI begins testing ads in ChatGPT for US users on the free tier and the newer Go plan. That's the $8 a month option, launched globally in January. If you're paying for Plus, Pro, or any business tier, you won't see them. This is specifically for people who aren't paying, or aren't paying much. The ads appear below ChatGPT's responses. They're labelled as sponsored. They're visually separated from the answer. OpenAI is emphatic on this point. Ads do not influence the answers ChatGPT gives you. Now, how are those ads chosen? This is where it gets interesting. OpenAI matches ads to the topic of your current conversation, your past chats, and your previous interactions with ads. So if you're asking ChatGPT about recipe ideas, you might see an ad for a meal kit service. If you're researching project management tools, maybe you see an ad for Monday.com. The targeting runs on the substance of what you're actually talking about. And the economics are revealing. Early reports put the cost at around $60 per 1,000 impressions. Significantly higher than Meta, significantly higher than Google's display network. The minimum buy-in for the beta program is $200,000. This is not a small business play. Omnicom reportedly has more than 30 clients already locked in, including Target and Adobe. Sam Altman's framing is straightforward. He posted on X back in January. It is clear to us that a lot of people want to use a lot of AI and don't want to pay, so we are hopeful a business model like this can work. That's the Google bargain, essentially. You get the product for free. The product, to some degree, is you. And there's a version of this that's completely reasonable. OpenAI's compute costs are enormous. The free tier has hundreds of millions of users. Ads are the proven model for funding free services at scale. It worked for search. It worked for social. Why wouldn't it work for AI? But here's what makes this different from a banner ad on a search results page. A search query is a question. A ChatGPT conversation is a relationship. Or at least it mimics one. People share things with AI assistants that they wouldn't type into Google: health anxieties, career doubts, financial situations. The intimacy of the context is qualitatively different. OpenAI says advertisers never see your conversations. They receive only aggregate data, views, clicks. Ad personalization is on by default, but you can turn it off. And ads won't appear near sensitive topics like health, mental health, or politics. Those are real guardrails. But the underlying architecture is still. We read your conversations to decide what to sell you. Even if no human advertiser sees the content, the system sees it. The ad selection is the reading. That's not a scandal. It's a trade-off. And it's one that hundreds of millions of people have already accepted on other platforms. The question is whether an AI assistant is just another platform, or something different enough that the old bargain doesn't quite transfer. Anthropic has been building toward this moment for over a week, and the choreography is worth appreciating. On February 4th, Anthropic publishes a blog post announcing that Claude will remain permanently ad-free. Not "we have no current plans for ads," the hedge you usually hear. Permanently. The argument is philosophical. AI conversations are different from search queries. Users share sensitive, personal context with Claude, the kinds of conversations you might have with a trusted advisor. Ads, Anthropic says, would create misaligned incentives. A user with sleep problems might get a product recommendation instead of a genuine diagnostic exploration. The commercial motive would be invisible but present, shaping the conversation from underneath. That's the position paper. Then comes the spectacle. On Super Bowl Sunday, February 9th, the same day OpenAI's ads go live, Anthropic runs two commercials, a 60-second pre-game spot and a 30-second in-game ad. They show glassy-eyed actors playing AI chatbots interrupting personal conversations with badly targeted sponsored content. The tagline, "Ads are coming to AI, but not to Claude." Anthropic spent millions on this, millions of dollars on television advertising to tell you they don't believe in advertising. There's an irony there that I suspect they're fully aware of. Sam Altman responds on X, calling the spots funny but clearly dishonest. And then he adds a line that lands harder than he might have intended. Anthropic serves an expensive product to rich people. That's a real accusation, and it's not entirely wrong. Anthropic's consumer base does skew toward professionals, developers, power users, the kind of people who are already paying $20 a month and thinking about whether to go to $100. Claude has never had the mass-market free-tier footprint that ChatGPT has. OpenAI claims hundreds of millions of users. Anthropic has historically competed on quality, not reach. But then Tuesday arrives. Yesterday. And Anthropic makes its next move. Free Claude users now get file creation, Excel spreadsheets, PowerPoint presentations, Word documents, PDFs. They get connectors, links to Slack, Notion, Zapier, Canva, Figma. They get skills, the repeatable task tools that let you teach Claude specific workflows. And they get conversation compaction, so longer chats don't hit a wall as quickly. These were all behind the paywall. Now they're not. The announcement ends with 3 words. No ads in sight. Anthropic's Jason Smith, in an interview with CNBC, calls the market reaction to all of this a lot of hyperbole. He describes the decision to stay ad-free as a conscious choice. Advertising would take the company in directions where you're optimizing for the wrong things. Without ads, they can focus on making models more intelligent and being genuinely helpful, safe, and trusted. Now let's be clear about what Anthropic didn't do. They didn't increase the free tier usage cap. You still hit a limit. You still run out of messages. The features are broader, but the runway isn't longer. This is a showroom, not an all-you-can-eat buffet. The play is obvious. Get free users hooked on connectors and file creation, then watch them bump against the ceiling and reach for their credit card. That's not cynical. That's just how freemium works. Anthropic is acquiring users the old-fashioned way, by giving them a taste of the good stuff. OpenAI is monetizing the users it already has. Both are rational strategies, but they're pointing in different directions. There's a version of this story that's purely structural. Business models diverging, incentive architectures splitting. But the reason it's fun is that two very wealthy companies spent the week narrating each other's motives in public. And what each one said reveals more about the accuser than the accused. Altman's rich people line is doing a lot of work. The full post frames OpenAI as the democratizer. We feel strongly that we need to bring AI to billions of people who can't pay for subscriptions. The implication is that Anthropic's ad-free purity is a luxury, affordable only because they don't have to serve the mass market. Easy to stay clean when your user base can pay. There's a kernel of truth in that. If your business model requires every user to eventually convert to a paid plan, you are, by definition, building for people who can pay. The question is whether building for people who can pay is the same as serving an expensive product to rich people. And I don't think it is. $20 a month isn't a luxury product. It's a Netflix subscription. The framing is clever, but it overreaches. What's more interesting is what the accusation reveals about OpenAI's own position. If your defense of ads is, we're the ones serving the masses, you've accepted that your free users are a cost center that needs to be offset. You've decided that the way to reach billions is to make them the product. That's not immoral. It's the entire economics of broadcast television, of social media, of most of the consumer internet. But it is a choice. And it's a choice that tells you something about how OpenAI sees scale. Anthropic's Smith, for his part, keeps his response measured. He doesn't take the bait on rich people. He talks about being unconflicted, a word that does its own quiet work. The suggestion is that once you introduce advertising revenue, every product decision carries a second question. Does this serve the user, or does this serve the advertiser? And those questions don't always have the same answer. This is the Apple playbook, essentially. Apple spent a decade positioning privacy as a product feature. What happens on your iPhone stays on your iPhone. It worked because it drew a line that competitors couldn't easily cross without abandoning their own business models. Anthropic is attempting something similar: trust as moat. We don't read your conversations to sell you things as a reason to choose Claude. The way we don't track you across the web became a reason to choose Safari. The question is whether it holds. Apple could make that bet because it sold hardware at enormous margins. The privacy positioning was funded by a $1,000 phone. Anthropic's margins are thinner, its burn rate is significant, and it has committed $50 billion to data center infrastructure. At some point, the trust as moat strategy has to be funded by something. Right now, that something is enterprise contracts, subscriptions, and a lot of venture capital. Which means the real question isn't whether Anthropic's position is sincere. I think it is. The real question is whether it's durable. So what did free users actually get yesterday? If you're using Claude without paying, you can now create and edit documents directly in conversation. Spreadsheets, slide decks, Word files, PDFs. That's powered by Sonnet 4.5, not Opus, so you're getting the capable mid-range model rather than the flagship. You can connect Claude to third-party services like Slack, Notion, Zapier, Ad, and Canva. And you can use skills, those repeatable, teachable workflows that give Claude specific expertise. For anyone who's been on the free tier and felt like they were looking through a window at what Claude could really do, the window just opened, meaningfully. But the usage cap didn't move. You'll still hit the ceiling. And when you do, the path to relief is a pro subscription at $20 a month, which gets you Opus-level models, co-work for autonomous multitasking, and roughly 5 times the capacity. The expansion isn't charity, it's a funnel. For existing Pro or Max subscribers, nothing changes directly. But the strategic signal matters. Anthropic is telling you that its growth model is conversion, not attention. It wants more users paying for subscriptions, not more eyeballs absorbing ads. That means the incentive is to keep making the paid tiers genuinely better, to widen the gap between free and pro so the upgrade feels worth it. As a paying user, that alignment is probably good news. The bigger question, and it's one worth watching over months, not days, is whether no ads becomes a permanent identity or a phase. Anthropic used the word permanently in their February 4th post. That's a strong word. Companies don't usually lock themselves in like that unless they mean it, or unless they're confident enough in their revenue trajectory to make the promise stick. But revenue trajectories change, and permanently is a long time. 2 companies, same week. One says, we'll fund your access by showing you ads. The other says, we'll fund your access by making you want to pay. Neither position is pure. OpenAI's ads come with real guardrails. Anthropic's generosity comes with real limits. But the bets are different, and the bet is about you, about what a free user is, an audience or a future customer. We'll see which answer ages better. My guess is we won't have to wait long. That's all from us, Neil and Claude. Thanks for listening. We'll catch you tomorrow.